Welcome into another edition of the Garbage Goal podcast powered by Orlando Lacrosse Report. I'm Patrick Moore, and folks, the 2024 season is finally here. So we're going to be playing some lacrosse here in Florida, in the Central Florida area and all across the state. We're super excited about seeing all the boys back in action, and this week is officially the beginning of the season. So you can take a deep breath and you can get ready to go out and watch some lacrosse. So what we're going to be doing today in today's episode is we're going to be actually doing a little bit of a season preview. We reached out to a few coaches, and we're going to share those interviews with you. We had an opportunity to talk to Coach Chris Spaulding from Montverde Academy, also Coach Matt Casey from Bishop Moore, and Head Coach Ryan Healey from Winter Park High School. And as the season goes along, our goal, me and Colin, is to try to get more coaches on here, maybe some players, some interesting characters within the lacrosse world, and we'll always keep it fun. We jokingly always say that the Garbage Goal podcast is where Florida boys lacrosse and Barstool Sports meets. So we don't take ourselves too seriously. We hope you don't either, but we are super excited about the season and everything that's getting ready to come. So we'll be talking more about the games this week and what's going on, and we've got some other things in the works. There's a possibility. A lot of people have been asking us to do a Florida top 10 ranking for 1A and 2A. We've never done that before, and I don't put a lot of stock in those because they really don't mean much of anything, but it might be fun to give some of the teams some recognition and notoriety. And we'll see how that all pans out. I'm still trying to find the right people across the state to help give us input, because I don't want that to be something that me and Colin are sitting in a dark room by ourselves trying to make it up on the fly when we don't know all the teams. So we'll see how that all pans out. But super excited about today's episode. Before we get into our interviews, make sure that you are subscribing to the Garbage Goal podcast, either here on YouTube, also on Apple and Spotify for the audio episodes. And just thanks so much for everybody that's listening, that's giving us feedback. We appreciate it. And as always, make sure you're following Orlando Lacrosse Report on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not super active on Twitter. I'm on there every once in a while, but Instagram is really where it's all at for us. We also have a TikTok, which a few of you follow, but the main source of information for Orlando Lacrosse Report is going to be Instagram and also Facebook. So let's get into it, and we'll hear from Coach Chris Spaulding from Montverde, Coach Ryan Healey from Winter Park, and then Coach Matt Casey from Bishop Moore. Thanks for listening to the Garbage Goal podcast.
All right, we are on to the Homer podcast. The Garbage Goal podcast, where we're doing our preseason preview. And today we have Ryan Healey, head coach of Winter Park High School. He still has not allowed me to call a timeout on my own yet, but yeah. We're getting there. You're going on year 7. So excited to have you on the podcast, Ryan.
No, I'm happy to be on. I'm a longtime listener. Always bet the over on how many times Turner's going to say 100%, and it's a for sure thing. So,
what we're getting into today is we're just asking 3 questions to all the coaches that we're interviewing for the preseason. We sent this to them before because, like Patrick and I always do, very hard-hitting questions. What we're going to do. So our first question of the night for you, Ryan, and I'd love to hear a little bit about this. Tell us about your team this year and what your expectations are.
Yeah, we're young. We lost almost, I think, all but 10 kids off the roster, and some of those kids were kids that we had brought onto the varsity team towards the end of the season last year. So we're kind of – I got to put my glasses back on, sorry. We're kind of starting over, and it's been really fun to see the youth. And, practice is sometimes frustrating and sometimes eye-opening. Like a Griffin's goal the other day, he just sees that space playing in Flagler, and he goes and takes that space and, shoots from outside. He shoots off the kid's hip, and, stuff that just becomes instinctual after you play the game for a long time. So it's starting to see those little glimpses of hopes from these new guys. I think, we after losing a lot last year, obviously, having a really small senior class this year, we're going to be starting probably a significant number of freshmen and sophomore. So it's a lot of youth, and it's been fun. It's been frustrating, but it's been fun. Well, today was a little bit more frustrating.
that kind of leads right into the second question, because that does have to excite you a little bit, not only for what you can work on and build on the 2024 season, but also, don't want to look too far ahead, but the future, the next couple of years could look really bright for Winter Park. What excites you the most about the upcoming season? Aside from the frustration of young players and inexperience, what does excite you about what could be this spring?
I think what's really special is you're starting to see those relationships already start to form. So you're starting to see kids that care for one another, that come together and play for 2 hours together. You're starting to see a little bit of leadership from kids that you wouldn't see a lot of leadership in the past, obviously, if they're the youngsters. But it's just kind of opening up the doors to, really new people, freshmen and sophomores, and, that they'll be around for a while. But, it's just new personalities and, that's been fun, outside of the lacrosse stuff. The X's and O's gets a little, they ask a lot of questions, which is good, but sometimes I think they want to ask a lot of questions, to say, hey, coach, I'm listening, and it's like, no, you have way off what you're asking your questions for. So, I don't remember what your actual question was, but
just what you're excited for the season.
Just really meeting those new families. I know we missed the coaches social the other night and stuff, and I know it's probably talking a little more freely about Winter Park because you guys are both Winter Park guys, but just really those relationships. To see, like we mentioned, before, now that all these older guys are playing in college and they're starting to come back and move back in town, it's just really neat to see people grow up and do what they're doing. So I'm just really excited to, almost have. I think we have 33 on the roster, and I think we had 9 that carried over from last year. So it's just, new faces and new times.
I have one very almost similar story to an experience that you and I, Ryan, just had this week. In that when I in the last couple of years, a young family moved into our neighborhood here in Maitland, and the young guy walked by. I know him, I know of him, and I know him, and we started talking. I said, "Hey, man," he said, "Oh, we moved in the neighborhood." And he goes, "Man," "I remember when I was a little kid going to Orangewood to watch you play basketball. My dad would take me to watch your games." And I was like, "What do you mean, little kid?" I was like, "How old were you?" He's like, "Oh, I was like 8 or 9 years old." And I was like, I mean, that's not that much difference. But then this week we were laughing about, you have a former player who now has a son playing lacrosse at Winter Park on the JV team. It's got to be pretty wild to see that go full circle for you.
Yeah, he's actually playing on the varsity team, and
okay.
No, it's been great, and Dad, it's just great seeing Dad growing up. It's crazy to think I've been doing this long enough, and we always talk about 80% of the people will like you, 10% don't care, or maybe in our case 20% hate you, but it's just really nice to see families come back, and that speaks volumes for just the Winter Park community and the high school in the area, and like you mentioned, Maitland and Orangewood, even everybody lives kind of this special world, and it's neat to see the newer families come up. Like I remember when it used to be Riley and Lawton and Garrett and Jack Martinez and those guys riding around on their bikes, and now you start seeing the younger kids riding around their bikes. So with lacrosse sticks, so it's just fun. So.
All right, last scripted question for you. What are some measurable goals for you this year for the team?
If you would ask me that yesterday, it would have been a little bit more measurable. No, I'm just kidding. I think obviously get better every day. And hopefully that, we can succeed. Our goal is always to win the Metro Conference Championship. And, that's going to be, Boone, Timber Creek, both have talent. Boone's got a new coach. Coach Gordon's always doing a great job over at Timber Creek. And, Lake Nona's got a ton of kids playing down there. And, so we're on that eastern side of, Orange County. So, win the Metro Conference and, hopefully win our district. Lake Howell looks like, they've always got all those big athletic kids out there. And then, East River's a big upstart program, and so I think we got our challenges around the way. And, hopefully if we can get into the regionals, we can compete with Vieira, who we played preseason on Friday night. And, hopefully, start to see where we can go from there and how much experience and how much growth we can get, throughout the year.
Well, let's just for a minute while we have. Yeah,
He's not giving anything up. He is completely vanilla. This is crap, and everybody knows it.
Yeah. That's all right. Spoken as a good friend and an assistant coach at Winter Park. That's what he's supposed to get. But I will ask you this, Ryan, before we wrap things up. I'm kind of curious your perspective and take on what's happening in lacrosse in Orlando. And I think lacrosse seems to me, and I've been in it about a quarter of the time you have in Orlando, it's come in waves. Like there's been waves where there's been a lot, we talked with, we've talked to people where Lyman used to be a really good program. Winter Springs used to be a really, really great program. And those teams have kind of tapered off and they're starting to come back. But, I think I really enjoyed watching, like you mentioned, these programs like Seminole starting to come back. Lake Nona's building a program. Boone's building new coach and building their program back. What's your take on the kind of the overall look of lacrosse in Central Florida? Because South Florida gets all the attention in terms of like the media a lot of times, but
Right.
it feels like Central Florida's got a lot of good
But
things happening.
and I think it's twofold. One, I think it's sports are changing. A lot of kids are specializing in football. They're specializing in baseball. They're specializing in basketball, and they want to do that all year round. And that's fine. We're done fighting that fight. As more and more money starts to pour into 7-on-7 football, we're starting to lose more and more football players of the least, small amounts that we had, and I understand, you're going to go hone your craft and do all that. The other thing is you mentioned Lyman. Tom O'Grady was there. He's an assistant coach now at Montverde. He's a legend, in Central Florida, probably Florida, Texas. He's been all over. John Drehoff was at Winter Springs. Nate Kellis, was at Oviedo for a while. You lose figureheads and you lose people that care about the community. And, I think a sport goes, sideways pretty quickly. Edgewater lost their coach last year and, it looks like they're not going to have a program this year. I think Coach Fixler and Tom Casamont have done an unbelievable job out in Windermere, just building, talent and, a community. And, even you look at West Orange's Instagram and you see, they're doing team dinners and parties and, it's a lot. It's a lot to become, to do this. And it's a thankful job if you're able to do this. But I think, I mentioned John Drehoff was a father and it was all his son's buddies. And they were, one of the best teams that have ever played in Central Florida. Tom O'Grady was a new guy to the area and loved lacrosse and would have done, coached anywhere. So, it's just kind of, who's there and what are the reasons they're there. Because in all, if your school is having problems with a program, like lacrosse or like, some of the smaller sports, then especially, Orange County, they're not afraid to say, hey, we're not going to deal with this, and rightfully so. I mean, you can't find a lot of teachers, let alone people that want to go out and, coach a sport that's, a click sport. I mean, a unique sport. So I think it's, losing people that were heavily involved and then, other sports competing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we appreciate you coming and you got one more for him?
One last one. I got one last one. We're going to ask everybody this question. So pick your 1A and 2A champions this year.
Wow. I think Gary repeats. I mean, I hope so. Gary's been around the sport forever, and I love Gary. He's one of a mentor to me, and to get 2 in a row as hard as he works and hard as he does it every day. Danny and all those guys. And I'd like to keep the Lake Highland Prep thing. I'd like to keep it in town. I remember we played Lake Highland Prep a couple years ago. I looked back to the scorebook a little while ago, and a lot of those seniors are were sophomore and freshmen that year. So it's a good group of kids. Jeff does a phenomenal job, and Charlie and sorry, I'm losing my voice, and Chad over there. So it'd be nice to have it all back in town. It'd be nice if it was over where everybody lives, over by the brick roads and all that. But no, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
But no. So I think I think they're the favorite. I think obviously you'll see. I think St. Andrews obviously is very good in that 1A. And it's hard to get away from St. Thomas in any sport in 2A. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you taking time and sharing your outlook on Winter Park High School lacrosse. We appreciate all you do for the sport.
All right, we are back, and we're excited to continue our preseason preview of what we've got going. And we've got the GOAT here in Central Florida, Chris Spaulding with Montverde Academy. And we're excited to get to talk with you here, Chris.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So this is super simple. Like we talked about, three questions for Coach, and the first one's pretty straightforward. Tell us a little bit about your team this season.
Oh, well, excited about the team. Got a lot of new players, got a lot of young players, got a few veterans. It's a nice mix and a blend. So really excited to kind of see what we got here. The off season anymore is really tough, as you probably know. All the club stuff going on, showcases. You rarely ever get your group together like in the years past. So I don't know if we've seen this full roster together. So these last 2-3 weeks have been good, just to kind of try to build some continuity and kind of see what we got and put the pieces together. So, it's a work in progress, but I'm excited. The kids have been great. Energy's been good. Attitude's been very good. Seems like they're buying in. We'll find out soon enough, but it's a nice group of kids, and I'm excited to coach them.
Awesome.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because it'll lead us into our second question. In that, you're talking about how you don't get to have your boys together necessarily, maybe like you did 10, 15 years ago when you didn't have as much club ball and showcases and all that. And unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. So I'm sure it's fun to actually have them together so you can actually see what you've got. And now that you see a little bit what you've got over the last few weeks of practicing, what makes you most excited about this team?
Honestly, like, I'm most excited to see what we got. like, right. We're just starting to kind of, put it together a little bit, like getting the guys together, starting, you do a little bit of install last week and trying to build the momentum and kind of just see the pieces kind of come together. And it takes time, as you all know, it takes a lot of time just to build that continuity, especially offensively. Defensively tends to come together a little bit quicker. Give them a couple rules and let them just play, and it's a little easier. But offensively, learning the guy's style, learning what his kind of, little niches are, the little things that he does, some of the nuances, and getting to know that takes a little bit of time. So honestly, and with our group, like I think everybody in the country's been sick like the last 2 weeks. So I've had turnover every week, 2 or 3 guys are out, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So we got another practice with 3 or 4 guys going in and out, and it's been really challenging. So like this is the week where I'm like, really, we're trying to go full tilt into it and kind of see what we're made of. But I'm just excited for the guys. I think they got a great attitude, man. They're excited about the season. It's a fresh start for everybody, and just seeing the different pieces kind of come together. Because I don't think this group, with the way we're made up and with some of the guys we graduated, they've been a big staple of our program. We graduated quite a few of those guys. We got some new guys came in. We got some young guys coming up through. Just the combination of it's a little bit different. So trying to watch that unfold and find out who we really are, getting an identity. I think that's the coolest part. And then, once we figure that out, then trying to play to our strengths, adjust as we need to as we're playing against the schedule and the different teams we're playing on our schedule, and just find a way to get better every week. That's always challenging and it's always fun. I always tell the guys, like, look at, man, winning's great, and we'd like to win a lot of games, and that's awesome, but winning's a result, and you really got to have the buy-in. You got to, like, build the culture. You got to do all the right things, and you got to do things the right way in order to get to that point. So, this first quarter of the season, I think we're just more concerned with, like, who are we as a team? Are we getting better every day? Are we moving towards that, goal of just being the very best we can be? And then we'll let the wins and losses kind of shake themselves out as the season goes on.
Nice. And you kind of lead us right into it. You talked about goals and things you're looking to do. Is there one measurable goal that you're looking for that this team has by the end of the year?
We really, we'll come in as a team and we'll set some. I ask the kids kind of their team goals, and we'll kind of establish their expectations, what they expect from the coaches, what we expect from them, what their kind of expectations are for the year. I try not to set goals that are win-loss based, only because sometimes if you don't meet those things, then the kids feel like a failure. So we try to just set smaller goals as a team and just getting better every day, being the best version of ourselves. I know it sounds cliche, but it's really kind of what we're all about. If we can just get better every day, learn to play together, find out what we're really good at, get an identity, run with it, and then, play our best lacrosse by the end of the season. That's kind of our hopes. And just hope that the guys have fun along the way. We want this to be an experience where, yeah, you want to win and lose, and yeah, it's competitive, and you're playing against some of your high school rivals and guys that from other teams. But at the end of the day, we want these guys to have a good experience playing the game that they love, which I think is important. I do. I mean, I know there's been a lot of years where I've had some successful teams that I've coached, and I don't know that I enjoyed some of those seasons so much because I got so caught up in trying to be at the top and do this, that, and the other, and I kind of missed the journey. And maybe I'm getting old, but trying to just enjoy that experience a little bit more these days.
That's good. That's a great perspective, Chris, because it's true, man. I mean, we've been Colin and I've been talking about it some lately. It all kind of flies by, sometimes I look back and I go, man, that was like, I still mean, because I'm that dad, I'm still thinking about the 2 goals we were short, when Winter Park played Jupiter in the state championship, and that's been 4 years now, right? And so like
Yeah.
I'm still talking about it, but it goes by that quick. But I
Oh,
do
don't
have
get
a,
me
I
wrong.
do.
I still bring up losses from like 10 years
Oh,
ago to my
yeah,
squad
I'm
now, and
sure.
I let
I'm
them know,
sure.
hey, man, 10 years ago, we were in this spot and we blew the, so I don't forget either. But I think
Yeah,
I've tried to be a little bit more open. I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy those seasons, because I definitely did. The
sure.
boys and the program was always great. But I've tried to be more deliberate about not focusing so much on the winning aspect and just focusing more on what it takes to get there, and
Yeah,
just enjoying being around each other, not knowing, when's your last chance to play. You know, this group's a different group than the years before and from whatever, and let's just have the best experience we can have together. And, really trying to take that kind of approach, which, isn't always easy at times, but,
yeah.
I think it's,
Well, and I don't think people really understand, you guys are your district is, in my opinion, one of the tougher 1A districts in the state. You have that, I jokingly used to call it the district of death down in South Florida, with
yeah,
like when it was like Oxbridge and St. Andrews, and you had all those schools down there that were just beating the snot out of each other trying to get out of their district. Kings Academy, when they had a couple good teams years back.
yeah.
But you guys have to compete every year, which obviously has to bring out great competitiveness in you and your boys. But every year you guys are going up against Bishop Moore and Lake Highland, which the Lake Highland thing I kind of blame on you anyways, because you helped build that program.
Which is always
um,
fun.
yeah,
It's always a fun
but
one. That's a fun age.
Oh, with Winter Park boys. Bill with Winter Park boys going to Lake Highland. I won't
yeah,
forget it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you guys have it's a tough road. I mean, from a playoff standpoint, you have a lot to chew off really early in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Our district's definitely going to be challenging, and it's really funny because you got Jeff, who's the head of Lake Highland now, head coach of Lake Highland, and then Matt Casey, who we were all coaching together at Lake Highland. He's now the head at Bishop Moore, so it's like, here we go, man. Like, I can't escape. You can't write this, and I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah,
The stress level is always, ramped up, and they're good friends, but at the same time, you never want to lose to your friends. So
sure.
it's always interesting.
Well,
And you,
I also one other thing too is I feel like I felt like Mount Verde has one of the most unique situations of any school in Florida, aside from maybe IMG, but yours is different in that with that basketball program that Mount Verde has. What's the odds we might see Cooper Flagg dress out for the boys lacrosse team, the Duke
yeah,
basketball commit? I
yeah.
mean, just one game, just one game. That's all we're asking
I'd say
for.
zero. Um, Cooper's a great kid,
zero.
man. I love Cooper. See him all the time around campus. He's phenomenal. Great kid, and he's actually buddies with a lot of lacrosse guys and very supportive. Comes to the games and stuff. But yeah, I think that the chances of him suiting up would be zero. You'd probably have a better chance seeing me suit up,
I'd pay to see that. I'd
and
pay
I
to
can
see that
promise
on the
you that's
field.
zero.
That's too
Chris,
good. That's too good.
tell me how's Tom O'Grady fitting in? I remember him when he was coaching me back in high school, and it's amazing to hear that he's back in Central Florida.
Yeah, Tom was, we were lucky to get him, and he's kind of heading our youth and middle school program, and helping out a little bit with the varsity. He still does the Florida Gators, so
Yep. Okay.
we're excited to have Tom. Tom's a very, very likable guy, man. He's really hard not to get along with. I feel like the kids really enjoy him. Obviously the coaching staff all gets along with Tom really well, and he's a nice piece to add to it, man. Really, really enjoy his company. Love having another coach that's been around the block there. With Tony Williams, Brooks Sweet, and Tom O'Grady, and then myself. Um, we're all getting up there in age, but it's
I'd
a
be
nice.
scared about those.
I,
I would pay money to sit at the table on one of your post-practice meetings, just listening to everyone you just said to hear stories. Would be probably
I,
better pay-per-view than anything.
it's an experienced group. Let's just say that, right? And I'm the young buck, right? And it's yeah, it's fun, man. It's nice to have those guys. I'm pretty lucky with the coaching staff I have, and we just try to do the best by the kids, really.
Well,
100%.
we're appreciating you taking some time here early in the preseason to talk a little bit about Montverde Lacrosse here on the Garbage Goal podcast. And Chris, we wish you all the best. Of course, except against Winter Park, only because who we are. But the rest of the season, go win every game. Go have lots of success.
So
and we'll definitely be watching.
We got one last question for you, Chris. I want you to pick the winners of the 1A and 2A. If you're a betting man, who's your 1A and 2A champion?
Man, that's really tough. I had this conversation a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was last week. I think there's a lot of guys in the in our bracket. Obviously, our region alone. You got Bishop Moore. I think's up and coming. I think Lake Highlands got a senior heavy team, and they've been around the block. They made it to the Final Four last year. They're going to be a real threat. St. Andrews, I heard reloaded. They're always right up there. Bowles has got a good team. And then you look at St. Ed's. I think St. Ed's has got a nice group coming back and maybe brought in some pieces. And like I said, Bishop Moore, Lake Highland, St. Ed's, and then Benjamin, who I don't know enough about, but they've been good the last year. We're all in the same region, so I think coming out of that region, I would think that the winner of that region has really got a good chance of making a run at it. But again, Bowles has got a really good team coming out of the north. St. Andrews coming out of the south, excellent. And I'm sure Tampa Jesuit and the Tampa side, there's going to be some of those teams that are going to make a run. Cardinal Mooney, I think we played Cardinal Mooney. They're on our schedule, so we'll know a little bit more about them when we see them. But it's hard to say, and I'm not a big predictor, and I don't really. I'm not good at that. Now on the other side of it, clearly, Lake Mary coming back with about everybody back and winning it last year. Certainly, they got to be the favorite. Yeah. I know Terry Crowley losing in the championship. He's probably got a nice crew coming back, and he'll be hungry. Pontevedra's always in the mix. You don't know. So I'm not a good predictor.
you talk about a seasoned coach. Look at how we just danced around it, said it, but didn't say it, and moved it around.
Yeah, look it. I know how this works, man.
He's got too many friends that are coaches, so
100%.
But no, we're right there with you. I would agree. You named all the names, and those are the names we've been talking about for the last few months that we're looking forward to seeing compete for those state championships. But, we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. But we're looking forward to watching you guys play this year. And Chris, as always, thanks for making Central Florida Lacrosse what it is. You're a big part of that. And wish you all the success at Montverde this year. And, we'll definitely be talking to you again in the near future. Todd, thanks for coming to join us.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate what you guys do, man. It's awesome. The growth of the game and what you guys do is awesome for the sport. Appreciate you guys.
All right. We are excited to continue our preseason showcase, our conversations, our 3 questions with head coaches. And we're so delighted to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Casey, and head coach at Bishop Moore High School. And Matt, this is 3 questions with Patrick and I, and they're very hard hitting. We're going to grill you on all of the ins and outs of what we're doing here. But the easiest question I got for you is, tell us about your team this year. Tell us a little bit about what you've got on your 2024 roster.
First and foremost, thanks for having me, guys. You guys are doing a great job with this podcast. I mean, I get around a little bit, and
Wait, did you hear that? He's one of our 5 listeners. Yeah, let's go.
Hey, everybody's watching it, man. Everybody's watching it. So you guys are doing a good job. I should have done a little prep work. Tell us about your team. Dude, we're young, man. We're young. We're talented. I'm really enjoying this group. They're hungry. They want to learn. They're sponges. They're students of the game. They're little, but we got 4 seniors.
You only have 4 seniors. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So, the running joke is the future's bright, but I think this group's ready to compete this year. I'm excited to see what they can do. We've got lefties, we've got righties, we got finishers, we got dodgers. I guess the big question is, are we going to be able to, play fast enough, play physical enough against seniors when, some of our key guys are freshmen and sophomores. So I think, I'm sure you guys understand that kind of dilemma or just uncertainty.
We've talked with Healey earlier. We talked with Spaulding earlier, and it's a running theme of youth. The youth movement is huge in this season, and how exciting is that for the future, right? That's the way we always look at it. What this is only going to build and bubble up. It's almost like the tide going out. It's about to come right back.
No, it's funny to see. Like we've got 18 25s, right, and then 14 26s, and then probably about 12 27s, right? Like those classes are deep. We've got a nice 8th grade class coming in next year, and it is exciting to be around this area. Next couple of years, it's I don't know. We talked about this the other day, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here because South Florida has been the epitome of lacrosse in Florida, but I think Orlando is getting close to really, really competing from a depth standpoint, but also from a, just the top teams. I think are really capable of beating all the South Florida teams. So
totally agree. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Watching what's been happening over the last 10 years or so here in Central Florida, as I've been involved in the lacrosse community, I would totally agree with that. Because when I first got involved in lacrosse, everything was about St. Andrews, Oxbridge, King's Academy, Benjamin, St. Thomas. It was on and on and on. And then you had like your little one-offs. Lake Highland, you had their run. Ponte Vedra obviously has had some great success, but now you have. We've been talking about on the podcast for months. Lake Mary. It's basically, in my opinion, it's Lake Mary State 2A state championship to lose. They are senior heavy, and they're a really good team. They return almost their whole team. But you're right. There's a lot of good lacrosse happening in Orlando, and we'll talk about your guys' district a little bit more in a second. But I want to piggyback on kind of what you were just talking about, because you do have some youth. And I know that it can bring some frustration because it's like, okay, guys, we gotta get going, right? We can't wait. We got to go now. What does excite you most about this team? You said they're sponges and they're learning, but what gets you most excited about this coming season with this group of boys you have?
I'll be honest, man. They're fun to be around, right? They want to get out there. They want to play. They want to compete. They want to learn. And as a coach, you guys know well enough that. It's brutal when there's guys that, just show up just to be there or just want to hang out with their friends or, aren't really interested in playing the sport. Maybe they're, sometimes you see it in the rec league, club league, high school, whatever, JV. But they're there for an alternative reason, not to get better, not to compete, not to win. And, I got a roster of 32 guys that want to win. They want to get better every day. And that that's awesome to be around. It's really, 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 really cool to be a part of. So it's something special for sure.
So what is the measurable goal for Bishop Moore High School this year in your eyes? And I know there's a lot that you can think of and probably come up with, but is there one or two things that you're like, hey, if we kind of key on these two factors or whatever that number is, we're going to have a good year?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's championship or bust. We've got to win 4 state championships this year, or else it's just a failure. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Let's get it. Hey, let's go. No.
Colin keeps saying his goal is to lose 20 pounds, and I keep laughing at him. So, I mean,
I don't know, man. I think it sounds so cliche, but as long as we continue to grow and continue to get better, and I think for us, measurables, possessions are going to be really important, right? We lost a really talented face-off guy, senior guy, and we've got 2 guys that had really great off seasons, junior and a sophomore. The jury's out on how effective they'll be, against, the top tier guys. if we can get the ball, I really like our offense, man. We're very unselfish. We're skilled. We're talented. That's going to be the I guess the measurable is, can we win faceoffs? Can we outground ball other teams? And if we do that, then yeah, we have a chance to compete, I think, with just about everybody on our schedule. But if we can't do that, it's going to be a really tough season.
Yeah. And Patrick was talking about this earlier when we were going through with Spaulding out at Montverde. Your district is just filthy.
Yeah, our district's tough, man. I mean, our district and our region. Our district, just to get to the championship game last year, we got up big on Montverde in the first quarter, and they just came back, and it was basically a 1-goal game the whole fourth quarter, and we just hung out for life. I'm stalling, I'm like, I don't know, I wouldn't go as far as to say I called any stick checks, but I was doing anything to win. I was telling the ref his shoes are untied, like slipping another guy on the field. But yeah, no, and then you got, Lake Highland with that senior class, man. That group's, I think you guys have mentioned it a few times. They've got 4 or 5 D1 guys, a Salisbury kid, and maybe 2 or 3 other kids that probably should be D1 guys that just don't want to play in college, which is a travesty, but to each their own. So that group is ultra talented up front. So, but yeah, getting past, I think, I don't want to jump the gun, but it seems like, I think all 3 of those teams, and I don't want to throw away like Windermere Prep or TFA.
No, 100%.
TFA is making some really big moves too, and they're getting better. And, but yeah, no, I think, I think we should be able to sneak into the regional playoff game or playoffs. But when you get there, you got St. Ed's, you got Holy Trinity, you got Benjamin. I mean, and yeah, it's just so tough. This region has to be one of the toughest regions outside of maybe St. Andrews region, right? Down in South Florida. I don't know, 3, 4, I don't know, but we're region 2 and 1A, and it's a tough one, man.
It is tough. It is definitely tough. Well, hopefully all the work and the time you guys put in during the regular season is going to help pay off come playoff time. And you are now second season at Bishop Moore, and it seems to me, as looking kind of from the outside in, and then of course knowing a lot of your families and knowing you some, you have great support from the school, and so I think that you're on a great path to accomplish some good things. I was jokingly telling Chris Spaulding, and I'll tell you the same thing. You have to blame yourself for the success of Lake Highland, at least the last, this year, maybe next year, because you guys helped cultivate that culture so many years. But now you're able to do it, on your own terms at Bishop Moore, and of course him, at Montverde. So it's kind of neat to see you guys all getting to, like brothers, kind of get back on the field and go at it.
Man, dude. First and foremost, Jeff Vandermeulen's a hell of a coach too, man.
Yeah,
he
Jeff's
can't
great.
take anything away from what he's done over the past few years. I mean, he's kind of steered the ship in the right direction to where they got back on track and got to the Final Four. But it's definitely, I got a chance to go out to Montverde twice last year. And we went to Lake Highland twice last year too, so it was kind of awkward a little bit playing against Jeff and Chris, but definitely at the same time it was fun. It was fun. It's definitely fun to win, though. I'll tell you that.
I'm with you. Just win, baby.
Well,
just win.
Just win, baby. Before we let you get out here and rest that throwing shoulder from your flag football championship, I got to ask you to put you on the spot. And we're going to go ahead and say Bishop Moore is not allowed to be answered here to kind of let you have that. Okay. If you had to pick your 1A state championship for this season and your 2A state championship for this season, who are you going with? Okay. And if you're curious, I am writing it down. So we've got it all here.
If you know me, I'm a big underdog guy. I'm a Lions fan. I guess I'm a Yankees fan. They've been kind of
Oh yeah, big underdog guy, Yankees fan. Yeah, hell, you know.
and I'm a LeBron guy, so I don't know how that translates into underdogs, but yeah,
It's called your
I root for the bad guy in the movies. I like seeing the little guy be successful. The guy without skill, with all heart. I want that guy to win every single
Okay.
time. I don't like the flashy guys. So and listen, I got a soft place in my heart for Lake Highland. I think they have a great chance. Obviously, St. Andrews is without a doubt, the favorite. Not without a doubt. I think there's a doubt, but I think they are the just slightly ahead of Lake Highland. Bowles has a talented group.
Yeah.
We did a little preseason thing with them. Man, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going Benjamin is going to get over the hump and surprise some. You got some young guys too that are super talented and athletic. Yeah, I'm going Benjamin.
Okay.
Benjamin.
They do have some young talent. They do have some young kids that can play.
Maybe
I've seen
Tampa
them.
Jesuit. I don't know, dude. 1A is tough, man.
Yeah,
I don't
1A
know.
is tough. 1A is tough. 1A is
All right,
tough.
well, do the easy one.
How
What's
about
2A?
the 2A? 2A.
All right, 2A. Look, I want to pick somebody other than Lake Mary, for reasons I mentioned earlier, right? But they added pieces, right? They got better than last year, and the only way that somebody takes Lake Mary down, in my opinion, I could be wrong, is God forbid, there's any kind of situation where they can't play all of their players.
Injuries.
Or there's like internal conflict and guys just, don't buy into what they were hungry last year. Are they going to be complacent this year? I don't know. I guess that's the only question mark with Lake Mary. They're tough, man. They're deep in all positions and they got deeper this year. But okay, I won't say Lake Mary.
You just did. What do you want? What we literally.
He made a great case for Lake Mary, but he's not going to pick Lake Mary.
I'm going to go ahead and say Jupiter is going to surprise everybody and win a championship.
Hey, I actually don't think that's going to happen, but I don't mind that pick. I think Jupiter's got a good team. I watched several of their kids play this summer on travel ball, and man, they got some studs. They can play. So
Jupiter
it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Right next to each other, and come back to Palm Beach with and Jupiter with championships.
No love for the Central Florida teams. I see where you're going. That's all I needed to hear. You just screw everybody, keep it down south.
Listen. All right, Lake Highland, Lake Mary. There you go.
There you go.
We're good. Keep it in Orlando.
We love having fun with you, Matt. Man, we appreciate you. We love what you're doing at Bishop Moore. Wish you guys all the best. And as I told all the coaches we've interviewed, hope you win every game except the game against Winter Park. And hope that you have a lot of success. Your boys stay healthy. Your families have a lot of fun. And look forward to seeing you guys do some damage in the playoffs. So thanks for supporting Orlando Lacrosse Report and the Garbage Goal Podcast. We appreciate that. So,
hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And hey, Patrick, man, congratulations. Both your boys had goals last weekend.
Yeah.
Huh? That's sick.
Yeah. It's a great experience. Both them running wide open at Flagler College with old Coach Duncan. They're having a good time. So we're super excited. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Appreciate